The auction floor reeked of old metal, sweat, and something like burning fur. Dozens of species crowded the rusted observation ring, some clicking in alien tongues, others hissing with anticipation. This wasn't a market for trade goods. It was a slaughterhouse dressed up in chains and numbers. Cages lined the center like a zoo gone wrong, and in one of them, under a cracked light and a broken sprinkler, a girl whimpered. She wasn't fully animal, though the crowd shouted otherwise. Her fur was patchy, tangled with dried blood and mud. She had ears like a lupin hunter, fangs too sharp for comfort, and glowing silver eyes that locked onto any movement with frightened intelligence. Her limbs trembled, not from weakness, but from cold and humiliation. And around her neck hung a tag, Lot 19B, hybrid female, feral class, meat grade. The announcer's voice buzzed through a broken speaker. Lot 19B, rare werebeast train. Meat tender, organ rich, half price due to prior resistance. Bidding starts at 12 crests. No one cared that she was alive. No one, except him. A man stood near the back, half hidden in the shadows, arms crossed over his worn jacket. His eyes didn't scan the other cages. They didn't flash with cruelty or greed. They stayed fixed on her, unmoving, unreadable. His face looked tired, sun-baked, carved by time and silence. Other buyers ignored him. He looked too plain, too. Quiet, not the kind to carry status or power. But when the girl's eyes found his, she flinched. Not from fear, but something else. Recognition, or hope, maybe both. The bidding began. 12, 13, 15. 15 and a half. Numbers were tossed like stones. Each call was followed by laughter or cruel speculation. "I'll take her tongue before the rest heard hybrids scream like singers," one said. Another added, "Nah, the marrow's what you want, better than krill milk." She pressed against the cage, trembling, hiding her face with dirty claws. Her chest rose and fell too fast. Panic was setting in. But then, 16, the quiet voice said. Heads turned. Laughter stopped. The man stepped forward into the light, revealing plain boots, a jacket patched with mismatched cloth, and a worn utility belt. No insignia, no name. But something about him made the air feel still. Heavy. The auctioneer blinked. 616 first call? A tall insectoid raised a limb. 17. The man didn't raise his voice, but everyone heard him anyway. 20. The auctioneer hesitated. Even the insectoid didn't respond. Sold? The cage buzzed and unlatched. The girl didn't move. She stared at the man like he was a ghost from a dream she barely remembered. Slowly, shakily, she crawled forward, flinching as the door creaked open. What? What do you want from me? Her voice cracked, raw and soft. Not bestial, not feral. Just scared. He knelt. Double quotes to give you back your name, he said quietly, if you still want it. And for a moment, the lights flickered. Every buyer in the room turned cold. Some instinct whispered through their bones, this man was not normal. Something about him twisted gravity, bent silence. But no one dared speak. He took off his jacket and draped it over her shoulders. The girl looked down at her blood-stained claws, then back at him. What are you? She whispered. He smiled, sad and slow, human. The inside of the transport ship was quiet. Cold metal walls hummed with distant energy, the engine pulsing like a tired heartbeat. Overhead lights flickered weakly as if unsure whether to stay on or give up entirely. The girl sat curled in a corner, wearing the human's oversized jacket. It draped over her like a tent, hiding the bruises, the dirt, and the parts of her that still felt like property. She hadn't spoken since they left the auction. He hadn't forced her to. He sat across from her on a crate, elbows on his knees, staring at a datapad that wasn't even on. His name was still unknown to her. No rank, no orders, no collar to return her to. He hadn't even looked at her like the others did. Not once. Her stomach growled. It was loud in the silence. She stiffened, embarrassed, afraid he would mock her. Or worse, think she was dangerous again. Instead, he reached slowly into a sealed compartment and took out a small ration bar. He didn't toss it. He walked over, kneeled, and placed it gently at her feet, as if offering it to a frightened animal that still hadn't decided whether to trust or bite. She stared at it, then at him. "Why?" she whispered. "Because you're hungry. But you bought me." Her voice cracked. "You own me now." His jaw tightened, not in anger, something deeper. "A wound, not a reaction. No one owns you," he said. "Not anymore." The words didn't make sense. Not to her, not in this galaxy. People like her, half-breeds, hybrids, ferals, they were labeled as dangerous, worthless, or useful only in pieces. Her mother had been hunted. Her kind were kept off record, hidden behind locked doors. And she had never even known her own name. Then, "What am I?" she asked. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached into his jacket and pulled out a thin metal band. It was simple. No marks, no power source. Just a flat surface with a smooth face. "This," he said, holding it out to her, "will stay locked until you choose what to put on it." "What is it?" "A nameplate." Her hands trembled as she took it. It felt too light for something so heavy. The idea of choosing her name was too foreign, too frightening. "I don't remember mine," he smiled faintly. "Then we'll find one that feels like home." She looked at him for a long time, studied his face, his scars, the strange stillness behind his eyes. There was a quiet sadness there, but also something else, something solid. Like he had lost more than she could imagine, but had never stopped standing. "You don't act like the others," she said quietly. He sat back on the crate again, rested his arms. "That's because I'm not like the others." "Are all humans like you?" His eyes darkened. "No, but they could be." The silence stretched again. Longer this time, but warmer. Less like a cage and more like space where something might grow. Then suddenly, the lights flickered red. The girl flinched, but the man was already up. He crossed to the control panel, fingers moving fast. "What's happening?" she asked. He didn't answer at first, just stared at the screen. Then, "We're being followed." Her heart stopped. "Someone from the auction?" He nodded. "The bidder I outbid? Looks like he didn't take it well." She crawled forward, her voice rising with panic. "They'll take me back." I won't go back." He turned. To her, voice firm. "You won't, I promise." "You don't know them," she said. "They'll hurt you. They'll hurt me." His voice dropped lower, calmer, heavier. "They can try." There was something in his tone that made her stop breathing for a moment. It wasn't arrogance. It wasn't anger. It was something older, something colder. She didn't know what this human had done before, didn't know what he had lost. But in that moment, she realized they hadn't just underestimated her. They had underestimated him, and that might be their last mistake. The ship's quiet hum turned into a sharp, rising wine dot outside the viewport. Distant stars shifted as a vessel emerged from the darkness. It was smaller than theirs, sleeker, painted in black with streaks of red. A hunter-class slaver ship, designed for speed, not comfort. They didn't come to talk. They came to take the girl backed into the corner again, clutching the human's jacket tighter. The nameplate was still in her hands, trembling. "They're locking on," she whispered. "They'll breach us. They always breach. They don't stop." He stood calmly at the console, fingers dancing across the controls. There was no panic in him, not even fear. Just focus. They think we're slow, he muttered, aren't we? He looked at her then, just for a moment. No. He moved. Across the room opened a hidden compartment under the floor panels. Inside was a long metal case. When he unlocked it, the lid hissed open, revealing a weapon unlike anything she had seen. It wasn't sleek. It wasn't flashy. It looked like it had seen too many wars and survived every one. Carved into the side, faint but clear, were 3 letters UNE. The rest was scorched away. You were in the old war, she said slowly. The human war? He didn't answer. He didn't have to. The old war was a ghost story. Humans had arrived in the galaxy with nothing but fire and will. They weren't the strongest, nor the most advanced. But they had turned battles with strategy, stubbornness, and sacrifice. They had vanished from the front lines years ago. Most believed they'd retreated. Broken, forgotten. But now she wasn't so sure. A voice crackled through the ship's speakers. This is Commander Dresk of the Fang Hollow Syndicate. Surrender the hybrid female. She is marked property. Failure to comply will result in total destruction. The human didn't respond. Instead, he flipped a switch. Outside, hidden panels on the sides of the ship began to shift and unfold. Old metal plating slid away, revealing pulse arrays and kinetic shields too advanced for a freighter. The girl's eyes widened. This isn't a transport ship, she whispered. No, he said. It's a survivor, the enemy ship fired. Red bolts sizzled through space. Shields flared. The impact shook the room, but only slightly. The human pressed another command. The ship jolted forward, angling upward, spinning with precision that shouldn't have been possible in something this old. The slaver vessel scrambled to keep up. You'll never outrun them, she said, panic growing. They've got jump dampeners. They'll track us no matter where we go. I know, he said. Then why aren't we hiding? He glanced at her. Because I'm not running. He grabbed the rifle and slung it over his shoulder. Then he walked toward the docking bay. Her claws scraped the floor as she followed. You can't face them alone. He turned, and something in his eyes made her stop moving. I'm not alone, he said. A memory flashed in her mind. Her mother's voice, distant and warm. One day, someone will see you, not as a beast, not as a mistake, but as a being worth saving. Tears pricked her eyes. She hadn't believed those words in years. Until now. She stepped beside him. I'll fight. He looked at her hands shaking, blood-stained claws, still healing. You fought enough, he said. But she stood straighter. Her voice, though small, was certain. I won't let you die for me. His eyes softened, then nodded once slowly. All right. Then we fight together. As the slaver ship prepared to breach, alarms flaring, the two stood side by side in the narrow metal hallway. One broken girl who had been sold for meat, and one human who had seen too many wars to let it happen again. Air was tense. Lights flickered red. Gravity shifted as the docking clamps hit, and just before the first hiss of the breach echoed through the hull, she reached out. My name is Kayla, she whispered. He nodded. Mine's Roarin'. And then the door exploded. The blast ripped the docking bay open in a blaze of light and noise. Metal shards flew like knives, cutting into the walls. The air rippled with heat. Through the smoke, shadows stepped in, slavers in dark armor, their rifles glowing with fresh charge, visors scanning for movement. They came in fast, trained, expecting submission. They didn't get it. Rorin moved first. His rifle let out a thunderous pulse. One of the slavers dropped before the others even registered the attack. He moved. Like he had done this 1,000 times, no wasted steps, no hesitation. Every motion was efficient, clean, lethal. Kayla watched him from the side, heart racing. Her breath came in shallow gasps. Fear still lived in her bones, but something stronger burned above it now. Anger. Not the wild kind. Not the animal kind. Something sharper. Something focused. For the first time in her life, she wasn't just surviving. She had a choice. And she was choosing him. A slaver spotted her crouching behind a crate and raised his rifle. "Stay down, freak," he growled, aiming at her chest. But she didn't. She leapt. The pain in her legs screamed as she launched forward, claws glowing faintly from leftover energy surging through her hybrid blood. She wasn't trained. She wasn't perfect. But rage made her precise. She hit the slaver hard, her claws tearing through the weak point under his chin. His weapon clattered to the floor. Behind her, another one charged. "Kayla down!" Roran's voice shouted. She dropped just in time for a blast to soar over her head and slam into the attacker's chest. Blood, smoke, metal everywhere. The room trembled as the two of them moved together. She was faster, wild, unpredictable. He was focused, controlled, relentless. One storm, one shield, and the slavers? They started to retreat, fall back. One shouted, "She's not feral. What is he? Why does he have human tech?" Panic rose in their voices. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. This wasn't just a retrieval anymore. This was a mistake, and they were bleeding for it. Kaela clawed through the last guard with a scream she didn't know lived inside her. When he fell, she stood over him, chest heaving, claws dripping, ears ringing. Then silence. Total silence. Her eyes darted across the room. 6 slavers lay on the floor. The last few scrambled back toward their ship. Roran didn't chase. He let them go. She turned to him, still trembling, still unsure what she'd just done. I killed them." "They would have killed us," he said quietly, "but I've never ... She trailed off, looking at her claws like they belonged to someone else. He walked over and gently took her hand. "Not the claws, her hand. You protected yourself," he said. "That doesn't make you a monster." Her lips parted. No one had ever touched her like this. No one had spoken to her without fear or disgust when she was like this, blood-stained, shaking, teeth bared. His hand was warm. She lowered her gaze. "I thought I hated what I was," he nodded. "Then it's time to become something new." They stood there, breathing in the aftermath. The bodies cooled. The fires dimmed. And for the first time, Kayla didn't feel like meat. She didn't feel like property. She felt ... dangerous ... but in a way she could control. Roran moved to the console. "We need to go. They'll send more. Where? Somewhere safe. But first, somewhere that remembers you." She tilted her head. "What do you mean?" He opened a hidden panel in the wall. A small data core rested inside, glowing dim. "Blue, this is from a human outpost, years ago, before it fell. Why do you still have it?" He looked at her, something deep and haunted in his eyes. "Because you're not the first I've saved." Kayla felt her throat tighten. "What happened to the others?" He closed the panel slowly. "They didn't make it." A long silence followed. "But you will," he added. "If you choose to." Her claws curled into fists. The nameplate still rested around her neck. Still blank. "I want to know who I was before they caged me." He nodded. "Then we start there." Outside, space rippled again, and far beyond them. Stars, someone powerful had noticed the battle. They weren't slavers. They were worse. The stars shifted as the ship dropped into stealth mode drift, sliding between forgotten routes that hadn't been charted in decades. Space outside the hull looked calm, vast, cold, glittering, but inside the ship, tension coiled tight like a pulled wire. Roran hadn't spoken in over an hour. Kayla watched him from the side, her back against the wall, cradling the nameplate in her hands. He was different now, less human somehow. His silence was too practiced. His eyes scanned old coordinates not because he was lost, but because he knew exactly how far trouble could follow. "Roran," she said finally, softly. He didn't look up. "You said I wasn't the first you saved." He paused, then nodded. Slowly. "No. What happened?" He took a long breath, as if pulling pain from deep beneath his skin. Their names were Tala and Elric. Both hybrids, both hunted. I found them in different systems, years apart. They were scared, strong, like you. He leaned back in his seat, eyes unfocused. I trained them, protected them, gave them the same choice I gave you. And? The galaxy chose differently, Kayla swallowed. They were taken? He shook his head. No, they fought. But not every fight ends like ours did. Some end in fire. She felt the weight of that. It didn't make her more afraid. It made her more aware of how close she had come. How thin the line between life and death really was for someone like her. Roran stood suddenly, crossed the room to a storage panel and pulled out a small metallic disc. He placed it on the floor and activated it. A flicker. Then a projection shimmered to life. Kael, a gasped out. A flickering recording played two figures, one tall and broad, the other slim with long ears and green scales down her neck, laughing as they worked on a small ship's engine. The tall one winked at the recorder. "Tell future me this ship still runs like garbage." The girl smiled. "We're gonna make it, Roran. We really are." Kella's chest ached. "They were family," Roran said, his voice quiet. "And I failed them." "You didn't." Kayla whispered. "You gave them a chance." Roran nodded slowly. "So now I do it again, and again, until something changes." Before she could reply, alarm CHIRPED.RORAN rushed to the console. The ship shook slightly. Lights dimmed. Then a message flashed across the screen in ancient code. Kaela leaned over. "What is that?" Roran's jaw tensed. "Not a signal. A signature. Someone scanning us. Long range? Slavers?" He shook his head. "No. Worse." He tapped into the signals code, isolating its structure. "This signature. It belongs to the silence." Kayla went still. Even in cages, even when half-starved, she had heard of them. The silence. Not a faction. Not a government. Something else. Cold. Hidden. Ancient. It was said they moved like ghosts across the stars. They didn't buy. They didn't sell. They cleaned. Removed anything that didn't fit their order. Especially hybrids. "They know about me," she whispered. Roran nodded grimly. "They've always known. They've been waiting. For what? For someone like me to break the rules." The console lit up again. A new warning. A ship dropping out of drift space. Massive. No lights. No comms. "They've arrived," Roran said. "But how?" "We were hidden." "They don't need sensors." "They follow what doesn't belong." Kella's hands trembled. "We can't fight something that doesn't bleed." Roran turned slowly, looked at her with a fire that hadn't been there before. "We won't fight them." "Then what?" "We show them what it means to belong anyway." His voice wasn't angry. It was certain, like stone under water. Kayla didn't understand yet, but something inside her stirred. He keyed a final command into the console. "I'm setting the ship to split drive. It'll jump fracture our trail. They'll follow the wrong piece." "What about us?" He looked at her. "We'll go dark, old-fashioned, no nav, no signal, manual flying." She blinked. "Where?" His eyes didn't leave hers. "To where you were born." Kayla froze. "You know?" "Not exactly. But I know the sector. Your blood, your claws, your strength, it's not random. It's coded. Someone made you." Her throat tightened. "I was grown? Maybe. Or maybe bred. Either way, whoever started this, we're going to end it." Outside, the silent ship loomed out, but Kayla didn't feel small anymore. Not with him. Beside her. "Then let's find out who I really am," she said, slipping the nameplate over her neck. Still blank, but not for much longer. The stars ahead were faded, dimmed by ancient radiation fields and broken gravitational scars. This region of space had no name on modern charts. Older species whispered about it only when drunk or delirious, calling it the Gray Rim. It was the kind of place lost things went, wreckage, secrets, and lives that were never meant to exist. RORN manually guided the ship through the silent corridor, fingers moving carefully over physical controls. No autopilot, no nav beacons. Nothing to give away their position. The silence was still behind them, scanning, hunting, but Roran knew how to vanish. He'd been vanishing his whole life. Kayla sat beside him, hands gripping the seat, eyes fixed. On the dark outside, she had stopped trembling. Not because she was unafraid, but because the fear had become something sharper, something clearer. She was ready now. Not just to survive, she wanted to know how much longer. She asked quietly. "Almost there," Roran replied. The ship drifted past a shattered moon, then dipped beneath a thick cloud of dead satellites. Beyond them, a structure came into view half buried in an asteroid field, gray, massive, silent. A forgotten facility shaped like a twisted ring with a core station at its heart. No lights, no heat signatures. But Roran's eyes narrowed with recognition. "This is it," he said. Kale stared. "What is it?" "A lab," he said softly, "long abandoned. Used during the early hybrid trials before the wars. Mine? Maybe," he said, "but if not yours, then someone like you?" The docking process was slow, done by hand. When the airlock finally opened, the scent hit them like a wave: dust, rust, and something old and sour. Not blood. Not exactly. More like the memory of it. They stepped into the dark. Kayla moved slowly, her claws lightly scraping the floor. The deeper they went, the more the silence pressed around her. Her heartbeat echoed in her ears. Her memories came back in flashes cold. Floors, strange lights, voices arguing through glass. Pain without reason. Days without names. They found the first chamber near the center. Cryopods. Rows of them. Most were broken. Inside a few were remains, shriveled forms, twisted bones, thin limbs that never got to grow. Kale a single quote's S breath hitched. She stepped closer to one of the pods and placed her hand on the glass. "They were like me." "Yes," Roran said gently. "Not failures, not freaks. Experiments. How did you find this place?" "I followed a trail of buried files, redacted logs, encrypted debris. Most governments don't even know this place existed. But someone wanted it gone, erased, forgotten." Kayla moved to the central console. Surprisingly, it still had power barely. Roran helped her patch a bypass, and after a moment of flickering light, a single file appeared on the screen. Subject a 19B, hybrid class. Alpha Keela's chest tightened. "That's me." She clicked it open, static. Then video. A younger version of herself, thinner, afraid, strapped to a table. Voices spoke off screen. Faster regeneration. Extreme strength under stress. Cognitive speech within 6 weeks. Subject shows promise, but also resistance. Another voice, colder. Terminate if the aggression spreads. No need for unpredictable specimens. Kayla stepped back. Her claws dug into her palms. "They didn't want to make us. They wanted to control us." "No," Roran said softly. "They wanted to own you." Anger burned in her chest. "Then why did they sell me?" "Because when they couldn't control you, they sold what they didn't understand. Just like they always do." Another door hissed open down the corridor. Motion sensors had picked up their presence. Lights flickered weakly as the lab's old systems tried to come alive. Kaela walked ahead. In the next room, there were walls lined with recordings, photos. Data. Her face. Her mother's face, and one picture of a child smiling, wild hair, silver eyes bright with joy. That's me, she whispered. And beside her, a name was written in faded ink. Kayla, daughter of Vera, Gen 3 Alpha class. Do not replicate. Unstable. Emotionally reactive. Terminated. Her fingers trembled. They thought I was dead. Roran stepped beside her. You survived anyway. She looked at him, tears in her eyes, voice shaking but strong. They erased my mother. We'll remember her, he said. And we'll make sure no one else like you is ever erased again. Outside, a soft beep echoed through the ship. Roran moved to check the signal, then froze. They found us, he said. The silence. One of their scouts just dropped into the system. Kayla didn't panic. Not this time. She stepped forward, eyes glowing faintly in the dim light, her voice steady. Then let them come. Roran looked at her. She wasn't the same girl he had pulled from the cage. She wasn't broken anymore. She was becoming herself, and when the final battle came, she wouldn't run. She would rise. The silent ship entered orbit without lights or warning. It didn't need them. It moved like a shadow, smooth and terrifying. Its hull absorbed radar, its weapons were silent, and its crew never spoke. They were pure logic programmed order. Their mission was simple: eliminate all unstable hybrids. Erase the proof. Restore control. Deep in the old lab, Kayla stared up at the blinking alert. Her claws flexed at her sides. The data on the wall still glowed behind her, the faces of those. Like her, the words labeling them as failures, the lies told to hide their existence. They came to finish the job. She whispered. Roran checked the console. Their dropcraft just left the main ship, 5 minutes until breach. Kayla turned toward him, calm. Not because she was fearless, but because she had made her choice. We fight. Roran didn't argue. He simply nodded. Together. They moved fast. Roran pulled weapons from hidden crates in the lower storage bay. Old human tech. Modified over years, carefully cleaned and protected. Kayla strapped on armor that didn't quite fit her shape, but it would do. Her claws glinted. In the flickering light, sharper now, stronger. In those final minutes, the silent ship descended like a falling moon. But down below, waiting in the ruins of a lab meant to erase her existence, Kayla was not afraid. She stood in front of the cryopods that held her past. She stood beside the only human who had looked at her and seen a person, not a weapon. And she waited. They breached with precision, a thunderous hiss. Steel gave way. The first soldiers came in tall, smooth-faced machines in silver-white armor. They raised their weapons without emotion. They aimed for her heart. She moved first. A blur of fur and fury, claws flashing. Her body remembered how to move, how to leap, how to fight. Every suppressed instinct surged now, not as chaos, but as control. She wasn't a beast. She was a storm. Roran was behind her, rifle roaring. His aim was flawless. He didn't fire wildly. Every shot dropped one of them. He moved to cover her back, trusted her to do the same. They fought like they had always known each other, but the silence didn't give up easily. One of the soldiers grabbed Kayla by the arm and slammed her against the wall. Metal cracked. Her vision swam. She looked into the creature's eyes, empty, pale glass. No soul. Subject a 19B. You are terminated. It said. Her claws pierced its chest. A heartbeat later. I choose who I am. She growled. The tide kept coming. They fought. Through halls of ghosts, past data logs and shattered dreams. Each room reminded Kayla who she used to be. But none of it stopped her. Not anymore. Finally, silence. The last soldier fell. Blood mixed with metal across the floor. Lights flickered. RORN leaned against the wall, injured, breathing hard. We bought time, but their main ship will send more. Kayla helped him stand. We can't stay, she said. He shook his head. No. Together they returned to the console. Kayla entered a command she didn't know she remembered, buried deep in her mind. The station's core hummed to life. What are you doing? Roran asked. Waking the others. One by one, cryopods along the wall blinked. Not all had bodies, but some ... some still held breath. Children, hybrids. Forgotten like her. RORN stepped back stunned. They survived. Kayla looked over the small forms inside the glass. They need what I was given, a chance. We can't take them all, Roran said. Not in that ship, not now. Then we call them, Kayla said. Who? She turned toward him. Others like you. Roran stared. There's no network left, Kayla smiled softly. Then we build one. She pressed a final key. A beacon lit the sky. Ancient human code, rewritten with hybrid encryption. A signal went out, not of distress, but of defiance. Not all humans had vanished. Not all hybrids were mistakes. Some had survived. Some had found each other. And some ... were ready to rise. Weeks passed. In a hidden corner of space, under a quiet star, a ship drifted peacefully. On board, children laughed for the first time. Roran stood outside the med bay, watching them learn how to run without chains. Kayla stepped beside him. Her nameplate now bore a word, engraved by her own claw. Kayla, daughter, protector, alive. You did it, Roran said. She shook her head. We did. Then she looked up at the stars, and we're not done yet. In the distance, ships moved, some hostile, some curious, but the galaxy had changed because one human didn't let her die, and she became the voice for those who couldn't speak. Asterisk.